Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We are going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do, the usual disclaimers. If you are unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, you're going to find all the pertinent links right there in the description box. Please, in particular, take note of the article written by NeuroClastic, a small non for profit started by autistics for autistics. In it, they interviewed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so called behavior modification program. The Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read that article so much. They've threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic refused, so you know the drill. Please read the article, share it on your social media. Also included in there is NeuroClastic's public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding just in case the JRC ever sees through with their threat. Trigger warning 1. When we discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center and Agape Boarding School for Boys, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please make sure to go ahead and utilize those headphones. Trigger warning 2. This channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously parental supervision is very much advised, alright? Okay, where we left off last time. Thus, shocks that individually may appear modestly stressful to an observer can constitute a criterion A stressor under the DSM 5 when multiple such shocks are administered, even though they may have not met criterion A under the prior iterations of the DSM. And I want to also state this, folks. What is the one thing that is predominant in regards to autism? It's even marched out in front of your eyes all April goddamn long. It's body language, isn't it? Our body language is very different. Most neurotypicals don't even think we're having any kind of physical reaction at all. When a matter of fact, we are. We're just reacting in a physically different manner than what most people recognize. So, what might seem just like modestly stressful to you, maybe an individual who is masking to the very absolute limit of their ability to be able to do so, to at the very least try to make the discomfort seem minimal rather than agony that they're actually in. Especially when we know those sick bastards at the JRC really like to get those who are terrified of the GED. It's a survival tactic, folks. I know it all too well because I did it myself, right? Let's continue to read, shall we? This is especially true when the recipient is experiencing additional vulnerabilities or circumstances discussed later in this response. The interpersonal nature of the shock delivery, the attachment of the device serving as a constant threat of future shocks. Thank you! The device strapped to the person alone is a threat. Thank you. This change in criterion A relates to an argument in reference 6 that the previous version of criteria A, which contemplated a single discrete highly traumatic event, did not in fact serve its intended gatekeeper function. It was not a useful criterion because people still manifested symptoms of PTSD without such an event as it was then defined. In other words, whether you're seeing traumatic shit, going through the traumatic shit, whether or not it is manifesting in the way that the normies can interpret and understand does not mean that it's not happening. Okay? Neither does any delayed response for that matter, because we know for a fact that the JRC has their staff searching for every single flinch that they don't agree to. The revisions of the diagnostic criterion A for PTSD were intended to bolster its effectiveness as a gatekeeper criterion by more comprehensively capturing the kinds of events that can result in PTSD symptomology, such as what they get up to at the JRC, in particular using the GET device. Thus, although the commenter states that reference 6 comes to opposite conclusions, the conclusions of reference 26 and the parallel as evolution of the DSM clearly support the FDA's determination that a series of traumatic events, even those events that may appear modestly stressful to observers, can give rise to stress disorders, including PTSD. Thank you, Jesus! See, that's what I'm talking about. Just because we are not manifesting with our body language or vocally in a way that you understand or accept as normal does not mean that it isn't happening. We are reacting differently than you would. In fact, if you see a non reaction of any kind, that is us trying to hide that shit. Okay? Because what we really want to do is, yeah, but we're not allowed to emote because then they can call it a meltdown. And I got a ship on my shoulder the size of Texas, folks, in regards to how some of these treatment programs go on. You'll have to forgive me for that. But it is very easy to see how a device like the GED constantly strapped, therefore it's a constant 24/7 never-ending threat. It is a literal sword of Damocles hanging over the necks of every single poor kid who has to wear one. All right? If you don't know what the sword of Damocles is, look it up. It has to do with Greek myth. You'll thank me later. We're going to go ahead and close out on this one, folks. I know it's short and sweet, but it's kind of self explanatory in the end. The criteria that PTSD is under these days and what the FDA is saying matches. It also matches the previous evidence, medical reports, and what have you. So there's no arguing out of it, really. All right, now we're going to close out. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So, folks, if you could, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit those comments. I appreciate your time this afternoon. As always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I'll see you again in a few minutes.